Hello and welcome everybody to the first ever edition of Premier Fantasies. Now, I guess one or two people across the internet might be tuning in and expecting something entirely different than what they're about to see. Premier Fantasies is a football show. Hlohlo and I are in a team. It is a team game. We'll explain that in a moment. But somebody who's terribly disappointed this is a football game and nothing more, thinking Premier Fantasies of all sorts of natures, is Barney Girnun. Welcome, Barney.
Hello, Neil and beautiful Mrs. Andrews. Dr. Nice to see you as well.
Hey, Barney.
And yeah, listen, I'm a bit disappointed, but while I'm here, we might as well talk soccer. I must be honest. Now, I don't mind a bit of football either.
You are in a team called Lucky Strikers. You're representing the Lucky Strikers tonight, but tell us a bit about your partner in crime who's going to be representing you through the season with you.
Well, I'm very lucky and privileged to have OG Molefe as my partner. Young and up-and-coming journalist. He's all over our airwaves and TV screens, and he's a wonderful guy who I've got to know very well in the last 3 or 4 years. We were both ambassador members of Ibotsi. That's where I first met him. And he's a big Chelsea fan, which quite excites me because Chelsea have gone out to the market, bought a few players. And I am a Spurs fan, Neil, as you know. And so there could be a bit of bias towards London. I see that in my team. But OG and I will have a big chat next week and we'll discuss our strategy. I mean, I'm up against some real experts here. I've been chatting to them off air, and they have promised to give me a few tips as well. So, we'll see what happens there. But very excited to be with OG, He's a lacquer guy and he knows his soccer very well. So I'll bring the experience, he'll bring the exuberance of youth. And we expect great things.
So before Hlohlo, I'll let you talk to her, or she can talk to our viewers, because she's going to tell you the reason why we're here and how it's going to work. I want to introduce the team below, and they are a team below. They are both Manchester United fans. Directly below us is Keegan. With him is Gabriel.
Yes.
And together, you are huge Manchester United fans. Let's start with you, Gabriel. Welcome. Not that anybody would be confused, because when we see the name of your team, we know straight away who you support.
Yes, that's right. We are the Stretford Tinkerers. A little bit of a play on, of course, Manchester United, as well as just the tinkering or the messing around aspect of fantasy, which I think is fantastic. In fact, I can't take the credit for that name. It was Keegan's bright idea. He's very creative, especially when it comes to things like this. So, we're very excited. We're looking forward to this as well. We think it's going to be a whole lot of fun.
Keegan, the truth of the matter is, and of course this is designed for Fantasy Premier League players, and they're very passionate, but it doesn't matter who you support, because as we all know, you can only pick 3 players from one side anyway. So it doesn't matter that you're a Manchester United fan. You can only pick 3 players, and that's it.
No, exactly. And I think that came to light last year when, my first time I had United players in was from game week 30 plus, when the United assets really started coming to light and Bruno Fernandes started coming and playing well. So I think you can't really have favourites in this game because, like you said, there's 3 per team, and you can't really pick good players that you find. You need to find good Fantasy Premier League players, which is a completely different ball game.
So here's how it works for people watching for the first time. Is we've established we've got a couple of teams. There is another team that will be joining us on the second show, which is an interesting team because they are Liverpool. And I said they can't finish, just because they finish first, they can't be on the first show. So they're going to finish, they're going to be on the second show. And that is folks that you'll know well, Liam Del Carme and Marcel Gordon, both in the media and both football fanatics. So we'll be talking to them. But this is just for our show. What we want is for you, the public, to follow, enter, as you would do anyway, a Fantasy Premier League team, and then compare it in the success and the points created or accumulated by your team with our teams. And week in, week out, whoever is doing well based on points accumulated, we're going to get you on as a guest on the show. So here's what you have to do. You have to make sure that you, by the 12th of September, of course, when the brand new Fantasy Premier League starts, enter your team, and then we'll give you, coming up onto the screen now, our email address. You just screenshot every week how your team's gone. If we think it's done well, or perhaps Hlohlo, if we think it's done very poorly, we might get you on the show to explain how well you've done, or to perhaps even humiliate yourself. So we shall see.
True. And at the end of the day, it's just to create some healthy competition between you, the viewer, and us. So even if you don't email or don't want to use the email route, we'll create a hashtag every week. Then you can send your hashtag on Twitter on the show with your teams, and we will consolidate everything and show who the loser is, who the winner is, who's in the middle, who's outshining us, hopefully not too many.
Yes. So lots of competition and healthy competition. Now, this is the first show. So what we thought we'd establish is a couple of just general broad comments. I'm going to start with actually the Manchester United fans below us, because I want to ask Keegan. Liverpool were superb as a unit, as individuals last season. My question to you is, as a fantasy Premier League player, will you be looking for them to once again re-establish themselves and do as well as individuals as they did last year? Or are you going to take the Salahs and the Manes and the Van Dijks on?
I definitely think our team, Gabriel and I's team, will definitely have at least, I think, 2 Liverpool players. I think definitely a midfielder. And I don't think you can go without Trent Alexander-Arnold or Andy Robertson. Purely for their set piece, all their attacking attributes. And I mean, to choose between Salah and Mane, just in terms of their expected goals, expected assists, and their RCT ratings, I mean, it's just unbelievable where they stand in the league. And yes, it pains me to say it, but as a United fan, but yes, there will be at least 2 Liverpool players in our fantasy team for sure.
Gabriel, we're in the week just about leading up to it, of course, and we've got big decisions to make on the 12th of September. But a question I wanted to ask you before Hlohlo's got a question for Barney is that we've only got the certain amount of money to spend. Now, in the best will in the world, we'd all like to buy, well, not all of us would like to buy Harry Kane, but some people like to buy Harry Kane, Mane, Van Dijk, the 2 defenders that you've mentioned. Plus, on top of that, you wouldn't mind Firmino, and you wouldn't mind Salah. But what do you do? Because you can't spend all of this money on the same part of the pitch. And it's a problem that fantasy players obviously all have.
Well, I think it's both a blessing and a curse, is having to be able to pick only 3 players from each side. I think that helps as well, because next thing you know, you'll have 5 or 6 Liverpool players, and there goes your budget. You're not exactly going to know what to do. So one of the smart things that I think people should do going into the game is perhaps going for, we call them premium or budget players. So go for maybe 3 premium players, 1 in each position. So midfielder, striker, defender, and then try and fill in the holes with a few budget players. And then with whatever's left after that, then perhaps look at another player who's not exactly premium, but also not budget. So right in between, the players like Christian Pulisic or the players like Willian, who will get you a few points, but also aren't going to cost you as much as your Agueros or your Harry Kanes or something. And it is all about balance. It's about balance and just trying to find that right balance. And the beginning stages are where you can experiment, because that's where you can see which players are expected to do well based on how they've played in the first 4 or 5 matches, maybe.
I agree with you 100%. And with the budget players, a lot of the time, without even expecting it, you end up with a really good budget player when you thought, I'm just buying this one because I had very little money in my account.
Exactly.
Barney, just a question. Do you think Liverpool will be able to recreate the success that they had in the last season?
I mean, the law of averages say no. It's not possible. They've had the last 18 months have been, it's a dream for Liverpool fans, what's happened. I'm talking about winning the Champions League, beating Spurs in that final, and then dominating the league the way they did. But how many points did they end up winning? By 20-odd points, which doesn't happen. And don't expect that. I'm a firm believer that Manchester City are going to be, I think they're going to win the league this year. And then that's, I'm not a fan, but I just think they'll get things right this year. So I expect Liverpool to, of course, be a great side still. No one, you can't be a great side and be a bad side in one season. They've got an unbelievable coach, a great manager who brings the best out of everyone at that club. And he'll continue to do so. So don't expect a bad Liverpool team. I'm saying, Pasop, Manchester City this year.
Barney, I'm going to stay with you because we don't have a Chelsea representative because OG will be in here. I suspect OG will come on dripping in jewellery because the amount of money these Chelsea oaks have thrown around, I expect OG to be partying up and cruising. I mean, it's unbelievable how much money they've spent.
Driving a Bentley.
Yes.
Yeah. They've always had the money. They were the first big money spend. They were the first club that fundamentally changed. And that was when Abramovich came there in the beginning. They were the first club to become Chelsea were a good team, but never a great side. And they were the first money club. And there's no shortage. It's going to continue that, I can tell you. It's going to continue. I expect Chelsea to be way more competitive this year. They weren't great last year, to be honest with you. I think Frank Lampard will also, he's getting into that position. He hasn't been at a big club. Like he knows the club, but he's not a big club manager, and he hasn't been one. He's still very much a novice, is Frankie Lampard. So he'll become better as well. He'll get better at learning about his change room. So, be careful of Chelsea. But as I said, I reckon Man City and Liverpool will be the top two again.
I think that he's going to surprise us this season, that Frankie.
Well, you know me.
I know.
I'm a big fan.
Of
Frank
You're a
Lampard.
big fan of
I think he is going to be incredibly successful because he was such a good player. He's intelligent. He's going to learn. He's been thrown in the deep end. I think that, the fact that they got Champions League position means it was a successful, they got to a cup final. I think it was a successful first season for him, to be honest.
Absolutely.
I'd like to ask the other two. I mean, we've got two experts with us here. I'm a bit of a novice at this, the whole fantasy league thing. So I'm learning from, Gabriel and Keegan over here. And there's always a team in the Premiership that often surprises everyone. I think we can say Wolves was the team last year that surprised everyone and consistently did it. I mean, Wolves had an unbelievable season last year. Who's going to be that team this year? What are your guys' thoughts on that?
Well, me speaking from my personal opinion, I honestly think that Ancelotti is doing great things at Everton, and I think some great signings there. And if the Rodriguez deal goes over the line, I think that could be make the Everton assets a lot more appealing. I think Leicester last season were great, but I think losing Chilwell at the back is going to be a big miss for them. And Pereira being injured as well, I don't think Justin has that same flair at the moment. But I think there's a lot of teams. I'm very interested to see how West Brom do. Very interested to see how Fulham pull in. With Mitrovic being small as an attacker, I think in that price range is probably the best option at that price.
What about Leeds? Leeds United?
South Africa.
What excites me the most about this season is the amount of big teams in the Premiership for a change. Aston Villa is a big club. They were still there. Leeds United is a massive club. They're in now. I think this Premiership is one of the better ones we're going to see.
I agree with that. And it is one of those. I was speaking to a few of my friends as well, and I told him that this really looks like a Premier League lineup this year. And it's actually quite nostalgic that we're able to see so many of these specific clubs in the Premier League at the same time. And it's good that, so it's not funny that you mentioned Leeds, but it is a good thing that you mentioned Leeds. I think they're also a team that's going to be quite surprising. I think the style of football that Marcelo Bielsa plays, he plays a style of football that fits in the Premier League, particularly defensively. So in terms of the way you're going to see Leeds play, think of how Sheffield United were last season, who I thought were fantastic as well. I thought that they had a very surprising season, and that's the kind of football that you can expect to see from Leeds. Of course, anything can happen in football, so you never really know. But as far as we can see, or as far as we can tell, that's perhaps something that you can expect as well from them.
As a South African, I was very excited to see Leeds back in the league. obviously
Yeah.
because Lucas Radebe played there, and I was always a Lucas Radebe fan, so I'm really excited to see them come up, and I'm really interested to know what they're going to do.
And the late Philemon Masinga was that?
Yes.
Played for Leeds.
Absolutely.
So there's definitely a massive South African connection there. And they'll be secretly my other team I'll be supporting this year will be Leeds United. I have been to Leeds, seen what a big club they are. They really are a very, very big club. Newcastle will be another interesting one this year, another big club, but we'll see. I'm very excited. I can't wait.
Well, the most astonishing thing I've heard tonight is actually Gabriel saying he spoke to a few friends of his, because being a Manchester United fan, I'm astonished he's got friends. Obviously you've got Keegan, but we'll see how they go.
We stick together.
This is the first show, and it's just really to introduce three of the teams. So we've got Lucky Strikers, which is Barney and OG. Below us, of course, we've got the Stretford Tinkerers, which is Gabriel and Keegan, and you know who we are. So we will be building as we go, bringing on different teams. As I say, the Liverpool teams. What do they call themselves? Clop, Clop, come in or something?
Clop, Clop, who's there?
Clop, Clop, who's there?
That's a very creative name. Like I read that and I'm like, wow, intelligent.
Well, hopefully they're not going to be too creative. But last word from all of you. I want to start with the Stretford Tinkerers at the bottom. Who do you think your dangers are in terms? Do you think Barney and OG? Do you think Hlohlo and I, or do you think those Clop Clop ones are the dangers, or do you think you're going to win this comfortably?
Well, Barney, he says that he's quite new to the game, and there's always that thing of beginner's luck, so I'm always very wary about that. So I'll be sure to check out the points that Barney and OG are going to be collecting over the course of the season.
Well, I love that, Gabriel. Thank you so much for the respect you're already showing me. My old mate Gavin Hunt, he always said to me one thing. He said, strikers win games, defenders win leagues. Don't ever forget that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You've taken our strategy. We're going for 11 defenders and we're going to hide them as attackers. Anyway, thanks very much, guys. It's the first show and we wish everybody the best. The most important thing is for folks watching, as Hlohlo says, we want to engage with you. We want to have lots of polite competition in this Premier Fantasies football show. And the last word for you, Hlohlo, because folks must, on the email on screen, please communicate with us. One, we're up and running. Make sure that your side is entered first of all. You don't want to be behind a week. So you've got until the 11th or 12th of September to get your team entered. And then communicate with us. Send that team, and when it starts accumulating points, and you could be a special guest on our weekly edition of Premier Fantasies.
Absolutely. We want to see you. We want to see you playing. We want to see you engage. So please make use of the hashtag. We're going to show it at the end of the screen. Make use of our email address, and we hope that we're going to have some real fun this season. Remember, it's 9 days to go.
Yes, as we are, 9 days to go. So start getting busy. When the boys and girls come back next week, we'll put a little bit of meat onto that bone, but we are not going to be asking them to tell us their team, because obviously that's going to be a disadvantage to them, so they can give us some indications as they have done. But when the battle begins, we will see who does well and who tops and takes home the cup in Premier Fantasies. Thanks for joining us from Neil and Hlohlo, from Barney and OG, and from Clop Clop, who's not here today, and of course Gabriel and Keegan. Till next time, good Fantasy League play.